Guys, welcome back to All Things Nay. I'm Nay if you're new here and you didn't know. Today's video, as you can tell by the title, are moving tips or things I wish I knew before I moved. Something along those lines. If you haven't seen my last 2 or 3 videos, I just recently moved to a completely new state, but I just recently moved on my own, and that was an experience in its own. There's so many things that I wish I would have known, so many mistakes that I made, but obviously everything worked out in the end. But I just wanted to do a video for moving on your own, moving to your own place for the first time, moving out of state for the first time. So if that's what you're interested in, that's why you're here, because you're moving soon, then stay tuned. So the first tip that I have would be to save, because moving has endless expenses that you don't even think about until they're presented to you. So the first thing that you need to be doing is saving. Like, save months of rent in advance on top of any other bills that you may have, because you may have bills that you don't even think of. And I'm going to get to that in a second, but there are bills that you don't even know that you have to pay, The second tip is to know what you're looking for and know what you're looking at. So knowing what you're looking for and knowing what you're looking at looks like knowing the certain amount of rent that you want to pay monthly and including everything that needs to be included with that. So a lot of apartments will not include utilities with your rent. So if your base rent, if you're on apartments.com, or the app that I love is Apartment List, because you can tailor so many things. You can tailor the amenities you want, how close it is to your job, etc., etc. But if you're on apps like that and you're looking for rent that's $1,200 a month, you're not factoring in the bills that you're going to have to pay on top of that. So water, electricity, renter's insurance. For me, I didn't know that my water was included in my rent. So it's based off of what the entire complex uses, divided by the square footage of my apartment times what I use, or some weird formula that is just frustrating because it feels like it's not solely what I use, it's times and amongst all the other people that I live with. So just stuff like that, you want to know, like, off rip, hey, I'm calling in because I'm interested in this unit, what utilities are included, is electricity included, is water included, things like that, because you want to minimize how much you're paying, and you don't want to find a place that you love for the rent payment and then have to include all utilities, and now it's way out of your budget and you have to start over. So something to help you save a little money once you do move. If utilities are not included, then you can Google ways to save money, like turning your air off if you leave, keeping your lights to a minimum, maybe not using ceiling fans as much, etc., etc., especially if it's your first time moving and you don't necessarily know those things, or just ask around. But you also want to try and start minimizing the amount of money that you're spending every month. So streaming service bills, which ones do you not really use? What are your car note and car insurance if you have that? Cell phone bills, any other monthly bills that are coming out, you want to start adding all of those together to figure out how much money you're going to have to be putting out every month for bills alone, not including personal things that you want to do. And then, like I mentioned before, renter's insurance is often required, but renter's insurance is not too much, depending on where you are, I guess. But mine wasn't too much, so it can be so low to the point where you can pay it up for the year or pay it up for your lease and be good. Another thing to note is that your credit score is very important when it comes to moving. So very important in that you want to have quality credit, because you don't want to keep applying to places and continuously getting denied, because every time that you apply, a hard inquiry is pulled from your credit. I didn't know that, so I ended up applying to this apartment and I loved it. And then I realized that it was in a location that I didn't necessarily want to be in. So I went ahead and told them I'm not gonna live here. And then my best friend's mother was like, well, the next place that you find has to basically be where you live, because they're gonna keep pulling your credit. That's gonna be a hard inquiry. Hard inquiries don't come off for 2 years, and they can make your credit score go down. So you don't wanna keep applying, having hard inquiries pulled and getting declined. Like, it's just pointless. So definitely know that your credit score is important, but situations where you may not have credit or you have bad credit, definitely talk to the leasing office that you want to apply with. I know some places that I talked to were saying that, like, they are lenient with students who are just getting out of school, just moving on their own, who may not have a credit score because you didn't necessarily have bills to build credit. So not having a credit score shouldn't deter you from applying, because it's not as bad as having bad credit. However, if you do have bad credit, you can still apply, but like I said, definitely reach out to the leasing office. Your security deposit may go up and you may have to put down first and last month's rent because it may seem like you're not reliable with paying your bills, and that just will give them a sense of reliability. And that's why you need to save, because if that happens, then you need to have the money so that you can move in. So with that being said, you should also be prepared to pay a lump sum of money. So security deposits are already a thing. Based on how good your credit is, you may have a lower one, but if you don't have credit or if you have bad credit, then you may have a higher one. You don't want to have a high security deposit and only have the first month's rent. And this is just like if you're able to do that, because like, you know, we see tweets on Twitter like, I moved across state with $1,000. If this is like an emergency situation, then obviously you have to do what you have to do. But if you're planning to move within the coming months, then you definitely want to save up as much as you can, because you're going to have to prepare for stuff like this. You also always want to ask about extra fees, because living in Atlanta, there are like pest control fee is a thing. Like every place that I call, there's a pest control fee. It was ranging from like $3 to $5, which isn't bad. There's a trash service fee. I also pay for parking because I live downtown, so I have to park in a parking garage. And those are things that you also want to like weigh in your head. Like, is it worth it to pay extra for parking? Based on where I live, I thought I would want to pay more for parking because I live in I have a parking garage. My car is protected. It's gated. So it was worth it to me. But if it's not worth it to you, if you feel like you shouldn't have to, then definitely look for places that are more centered toward what you're looking for, what you can afford, because you don't want to start living outside of your means. You don't want to move into a place and have to solely start depending on maybe your savings or your job and you're living check to check. So if you save enough money, then you won't have to worry about that necessarily. If you save enough money, then you'll be able to pay, let's say your rent is your largest bill. You'll be able to pay up your rent for months and then use your checks for your smaller bills and to save. So if you move in August and you want to pay your rent up till December, that's perfect, because now every check that you're getting for the rest of those months can go to car insurance, car note, phone bill, water, electricity, save. You know, so, and it also gives you the opportunity to even have a little fun if you're trying to do personal things, as opposed to living check to check and trying to figure out how I'm going to stretch this payment, how I'm going to stretch this, because you don't want to start getting behind on your bills, especially if this is your first time out, you're building your credit. It's not going to be a good look. Another thing, when you're trying to figure out how you're going to pay your rent once you move, you can reach out to complexes and see what specials they have. So a lot of the places that I saw had rent specials, and that kind of deterred me, because it's just like, why you want people to move in so badly? Like, what's this really about? But a lot of the places have like a month free rent or 6 weeks free rent. So you move in and you already set aside, I'm gonna pay 6 months up. Still pay 6 months. Don't consider that free money, but if you need that money, you can dip into it. You get what I'm saying? Don't consider that month a free, oh, I'm not paying this $1,200, I can do whatever with that. At least save half of it, at least save 3/4 of it and do what you want with the rest. But that's what I would do. That's just me. But I'm just saying, definitely look into what complexes have specials, because that can help you save money as well. A huge tip that I have is knowing about the area that you're moving to. And this is hard for people who are moving out of state, because it might not be feasible for you to fly down, take a weekend to look at apartments. For me, it wasn't, because I'm a procrastinator. I don't know why I would procrastinate with where I'm going to live, but I did. So I ended up finding this place in literally like a week, and I moved in 2 weeks later. And I didn't get to tour. Actually, I did. I toured this apartment a week before I moved. So I'd already basically paid like the security deposit and stuff before I saw the place. But like I said, I had to find somewhere to live. So yeah. But for the most part, my area is very safe in my opinion. There's nothing that really happens here. I'm about to knock on wood, but there's nothing that has happened since I've been here. One thing that was important to me was just being in a safe area. So like the people that are around, the businesses that are around, there are like clubs and bars like 4 blocks up, clubs and bars like 4 blocks down, but specifically where I live, there is not much of a problem. You also want to be sure you live near grocery stores or Target if that's important to you, because I live right down the street from a Target, so you know where I be. Yeah. But it's important if you want to live near a Target, Publix, Walmart, Safeway, like just know those things. Restaurants, if you want to live near them, like try and look up as much as you can about this information. It's harder if you're out of state because you're relying heavily on reviews, and reviews can scare you. Reviews, oh my gosh, you have to look at the time that they've been written. You have to look at multiple websites. Like, reviews turn me away from so many apartments, but I'm glad I went with the one that I had, even though my apartment had bad reviews, but they were from like a year ago. And so now the problems that they're saying, I don't necessarily see, but knock on wood, you know what I'm saying? Some reviews are also from bitter residents. So like some reviews here said that like the gate is always broken, and there are 2 gates and one of them was broken, but that's not my gate, so that's not my problem. But yeah, situations like that, or there's like, they'll be like, there's always trash, and it'll be like trash outside in the parking garage. Like, yeah, that's annoying, but that's not something to really make someone not want to live in the place. But so just rely on reviews, but not too heavily. Also, if you can't get into the area, or you don't know anyone who lives in the state that you're moving to who can kind of like ride around, or like, I would suggest the weekend so they can see what the vibes are. I would look up the crime rates in the area. So just look up like literally crime rates in area, because you want to just know, like, is it a dangerous area? That's what I had to do. One thing that frustrates me, it's a lounge right across the street from my parking garage. I didn't know that until I moved. So I work 4:30 p.m. to 3 a.m. I get home at the let out. It is so hard to get into my apartment. One day I came down the street, I seen an ambulance. So I'm thinking, oh, they got into a little accident. That's crazy. Like, I hope everybody's okay. Let me go ahead, get in here and take a shower, because it's 3:30, I'm tired. I pull up, I see caution tape and 6 police SUVs. I'm like, bro, what's going on? The officer, I'm trying to turn into the parking garage. He's like, what are you doing? I said, sir, I live here. This is my home. We're in the middle of a crime scene right now, so you're just gonna have to give us a couple seconds. Crime scene? Why didn't I know of this lounge before I moved here? But that's the only downfall. But just stuff like that. Like, you want to just know about stuff like that. You want to know as much as you can. So do your research. Also pay attention to gas stations, doctor's offices, hospitals, malls. Is your job closed? Is the train, bus, subway stations easily accessible? Stuff like that, because like I said, I live in downtown and the gas prices go dumb. And I don't like that. So even stuff like that, I swear, like stuff that you wouldn't even think about, really just look up all of that so that it can be the most accessible and easy living experience that you could have. Back to the money portion, save your money. Don't feel pressure to furnish your home immediately. I wanted to furnish my apartment like ASAP, and I really could have, just because I had saved up so much, but then I ended up getting a new car because my car was failing me. So furnishing is on hold, but that's okay because I just moved here basically, so I don't need to hurry up and have everything furnished. Like, don't just feel like you got to keep up with everybody and move in, furnish in a week and be good. You can get your little pieces as you move on. Like, save up for this couch, put half of the payment in your savings for the couch, put half for the dresser. Like, just get there, get the bare necessities: a bed, a TV, a dining room table, and be good. Otherwise, you're gonna stress yourself out. You're gonna be spending all your money trying to furnish your home and then looking like, okay, bill time, shouldn't have bought that couch. So definitely make sure that furnishing your home is on your radar, but your bills are first. So yeah, those are all the tips that I really had. Those are all things that I wish I knew and things that I thought of before I moved, so you don't have to experience what I did. So if you have any more questions, like how I chose my place, how I used that app, Apartment List, what area, or how did I go about looking up the crime rates, how you should go about looking up what's around you, definitely feel free to comment those or DM me on my socials, which I'll leave in the description box. And yeah, thanks for watching my video, and I'll see you guys in my next one. Bye. My pants leave from France. I can't slow it. I'm working on it. No, I can't slow it.